So now I seem to be doing a bunch of things today, and it is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest speaker today. Our guest speaker is the Reverend Dr. Barbara, and I'm gonna apologize right now because she taught me how to say her last name, but it's not written on this page, and so I forgot. So I'm gonna let her.
Barbara's good. Just Reverend Barbara's good.
That's good. Thank you. And she is the founder of Temenos Spiritual Life Center, and she did that on September 11th. She is a peace first activist and a spiritual student of life. And under her leadership, Temenos CSL Incorporated in California has spawned 2 NGOs in the Ukraine. And if you ask her what is the most important aspect of her work, she says, quote, "I guarantee you that Peace First supports us to shift from reacting and allowing us to respond from our unity and wisdom. Putting peace first invites us to experience our connections, courage, and compassion. And in this way, our ability to learn to put peace first is like a handle that opens a door to all goodness and gifts of this amazing life." Reverend Dr. Barbara, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia, and I'm so happy to sit in. We don't stand in now, we sit in because we're all on Zoom, for my friend, Reverend Dr. Sandra. And you are so blessed, I know you know that, to have her as your guiding spiritual leader. She is one wonderful, powerful, amazing woman. And I love the times I've come to meet you and be with you in service before, so I was happy to be asked. You know, the topic that we're exploring today is such a huge, big topic. And no one is free until everyone's free. That, you know, there's lots of ways to approach this topic. The minister's listserv is just a buzz with how do you talk about this topic and what does that mean about this and that. You know, we have the spiritual reality where we are free, just as the reading, as Dr. Holmes, you know, being the mystic that he was. And and then we have the real world, the one that we live in, inside the real world of absolute truth. We have this feet on the ground world where we experience it. And so I want to do 2 things. I brought a video today that I want to share, but in just a moment. But I wanted to just set the stage for this talk in a way that I can understand and hopefully can share with you, because it's such a topic. Freedom is our inalienable right, and we are born for freedom, not for bondage. And yet, throughout millennia, we have experienced the lack of freedom in so many ways. And at this moment in our country's history and across the world, we are grappling with that disparity between those 2 realities of truly being born free, as ZZ's song said, of being inalienably free, because we come from the one, where all is freedom. And the deal is, we had to be tossed out of the Garden of Eden in order to choose to come back. We had to choose to come back. And so while we are free, as we learn in Science of Mind, God can do for us only what God can do through us. So it is, we are the hands and feet of this capacity of freedom. And we have as much of it as we can hold, as we can believe in. So that's what I believe about this topic. That's the cliff note on this topic. I may not be right. I might just be on the first step of a great journey. Also this week, as you probably all know, that the great John Lewis, the conscious conscience of the Senate and a representative of Georgia for 17 semesters in Congress for his whole life. He became an angel in the other side that enlightens us and inspires us, because that's what the inner world does. That's what the world of pure spirit does, is it reminds us who we are. Now, this man knew who he was. He knew who he was. And I have not studied him deeply, but somewhat. And he stood for human rights. He stood for freedom always. Whatever he did for that capacity for us to live in freedom and not in bondage and not at war with each other. He chose to be an activist who also worked from the inside. So he had to learn to bridge that gap with the other. You know, and that crossing of that bridge in Selma, which was the beginning of such a huge experience for him and for our country. We're beginning to understand the metaphors of those things. He bridged to people who hurt him. He learned how to do that. He became a hero. And why was he a hero? Because he didn't take a back seat to the truth. He stood for the truth always. He stood for human rights. He stood for the Constitution, for the liberty and justice and freedom for all. He stood for that, and not silently. There's a new movie out, and maybe you all know about it. I can't wait to watch it, but I watched an interview with the creator of it, and who is a Black woman, and who spent 2 years studying and being with him and recording his life story. And the movie is called Good Trouble, because that was what he always said, you know, you got to do good trouble. And I remember hearing that, and I'm sure you did. You're from Georgia. There you are. He was your guy. You can't ask for a better guy than that. So he stood on the front lines of freedom in a very visible way. Most of us don't. And we don't have to. Some of us are called to march and stomp and pray out in public and cross the bridge and meet the people who have hurt us and find our common good and find a way to grow and hopefully work together. And we've done that for 50 years. And yet today it seems like it's all, you know, up in the air again. And it can be a terrifying time. It can be very upsetting, and it is. And yet, you know, we bring our spiritual knowledge to this moment. What is it that is in store? What is in the storehouse of our consciousness about what to be and do in this moment? And I remember the quote from Dr. King, who said, if you abandon your faith in the hour of need, you didn't have it. It wasn't the faith you thought you had. If we believe that truth is true here, then truth is true everywhere. You can't have truth just when it's convenient. It's not just God is all there is when it feels good. It's God is all there is. This is a big, tough walk to walk, that God is all there is in a moment like we are in history today. And yet we are called to stand in this moment, in the truth. And so we get to find out what is our truth in moments like this. And then when we find that we're scared and weak, as the reading said there's, you know, why are we weak? How did it say? Why are we weak? Because we've forgotten who we are. Because we don't trust the infinite divine presence out of which is created everything. We think, how could God abandon us now in our hour of need? And it hasn't. God hasn't abandoned us. God is walking with us. But if God can only do for us what God can do through us, then who to turn to? to the God within us, right? To ourselves. To walk the walk. So I'm so grateful to have a chance to even contemplate all these things and share them with you. I want to ask myself, what makes a hero? Where are we all heroes? Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, said we're all on our hero's journey. Well, where am I on that journey? Am I brave enough to stand for the truth? I remember being a kid, like 18 years old. I ran away from home when I was 18 and went far away where I knew nobody. It was a very daring thing. And so you have to know that it was just really important to change my life. And I remember asking myself at that time and throughout, I was an activist, and throughout the whole Vietnam era and the women's rights movement and all of those things, I would ask myself this question. When push comes to shove, will I have the courage of the suffragettes? Will I have the courage of the abolitionists? When the time is now, will I have that courage to do the right thing, to remember my truth? Will I stand for what's right? Will I walk, not just stand? Will I get up and move for what's right? Do I have the courage to get on that bus or on that freedom train? Do I have the courage to speak out? Do I have the courage to be seen? I've asked myself that my whole life. So, the answer is yeah, not as active as I want, so I make lots of excuses, but more and more I'm being pulled and shoved by that God that knows that I am free. And that my truth must be that if I'm free, this is how treatment works. If it's true that God is all there is, and that's the basis of our teaching, that means that we are all connected. That is the basis of our teaching. That is the foundational principle, that we are one. There is one unity. And if that's so, that means God is in me in every single cell, and in you and in everyone, and we are all already free. That is the foundation of this teaching. And where it falters, it's not the teaching's fault. It's my fault. Where I forget it, where I don't have the courage to walk it, to live it. So I think that probably a lot of us, are asking ourselves, what's ours to do? How do we do? What do we do in this moment? So our rights are being eroded. They are. It's just a fact. It's not a political statement. It's just a fact. And we've worked hard. And yet we must understand that democracy is a fragile thing. It relies on the agreement and the participation of all of us. Democracy is a demonstration of this possibility that it is true that we all matter, that we all have a voice, that there is a way to come together for the good of all people. That is the heart of democracy, not going around the world being the policeman of all countries. But we have a lot to learn about how democracy can really work. And John Lewis, God bless him, he really believed in this. And he held everyone's feet to the fire. That's how he did it. But there's lots of ways that we can do it. And I'm asking myself, and I'm asking you, what way can you stand for and believe in the rights of all people, where you don't feel free? What could you see differently? If you could embrace this, you could write this down. There's a word, Muada Rosali is an amazing minister, African-American man in San Francisco, who was on my minister's panel. No, my prac panel, I think. Anyway, yeah, my prac panel. And he coined the term Giati, Giati, Giati. That's code. How's Giati working for you today? God is all there is, Giati. It's a great little code word. So if it's all Giati, then how am I limiting it? So I wanted to bring you this video that Marcia's going to call up here in a sec, to just open our hearts to the widest possibility of freedom and human rights. And then we're going to close this talk with, what can we do to believe in and to stand for and to embrace a new humanity, the one that remembers what it is and whose it is. That's our job. So get your tissues out because you might need it for this video.
So I see that people are saying they didn't see anything. Okay, nothing played. Oh, you mean I enjoyed it by myself?
Oh.
Okay, let's try this one more time because we've got to see this. Do y'all mind? Is that okay? Thumbs up? Is that okay? I mean, okay.
Perfect. Yeah, do it again.
Oh my God. I'm sitting there going like, wow.
Oh.
Try this again. Let me see. I was listening like, is anybody, say anything? I didn't see a chat window. So okay. Can y'all see that? Yes. Okay.
Well, you had given me, but you turned it on, right?
Right. Okay. Can you?
We just see in your desktop, it shows your the file screen play. We don't see the video.
Okay, let me try it a different way. Hold on. Ooh, that's horrible because that was really good. So let me try it this way and then I'll just dig it out. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
So thank you for watching all of that. And that's the biggest picture I can hold in my mind about what's possible when we're all free. So I have an absolute knowing that peace in our lifetime, that means in our lifetime, is not only possible, it's pushing against us so that we can reveal it. The teaching of the science of mind says that there's nothing to heal, it's only to reveal that truth that is already in existence in the absolute reality of God is all there is. That is the foundation. God is all there is. And so here's what I do with that to keep me walking in the right direction. Because like most of us, I'm not perfect. I fall down. I try to be right. I get offended. I, think I have to look and act a certain way or whatever. And I forget that I'm just perfect as I am. And that so are you. And I forget. And peace first comes along and says, honey, come on now. You're not going to live in peace when you keep separating yourself from others this way. You're not going to live in peace when judgment is, where you go when you're hurting or when you're blaming, and instead of being able to just say, well, I didn't do that well. So I don't know if you've taken visioning classes with Reverend Sandra yet, but I'm going to, if you haven't, I'm going to talk with her because I would love to work with her and bring visioning here. And Michael Beckwith is who discovered visioning as he opened to the greater experience of peace in his life. And he brought us this practice. And so why don't we have this world where we're all free, where these things that have hurt us are no longer possible? Why do we have this world? Because in one way or another, the collective believes in it. It can't happen unless that there's a source in us of disbelief of the truth and a belief in separation. And so one of my teachers taught that the only prayer there is to heal the separation, to heal my feeling like I'm anything other than in the experience of grace and peace and freedom at all times. And that when the dragon comes marching down the road, that I do not need to go and do battle with it. I need to recognize that I've called that dragon. I've probably even been leaving breadcrumbs for it. You know, I keep it in the backyard and I feed it, hoping to keep it from bothering me. Only, you know, I think it also keeps me safe because then I don't have to worry about the people that might want to get into the garden. And I wrote a song one day about that. It just like burst out of me. It's like, the dragons I kept right beside me, my protectors and captors of old. They're flying, they're smiling, at last they're free. I'm doing my part, it is told. So we bring these dragons, we call them our protectors. We have these beliefs. We separate ourselves from the truth. And we say, I have to be safe. I mean, I'm the biggest control freak I know. And I'm in recovery, but still, oh my word. Just ask anybody who works with me. I still like it my way, even when I try not to. So there is a life, and that life is God's life. And that life is perfect. And that life is my life now. And when I keep that at the heart of who I am, and I have my rock built on this idea that there's only one thing happening at any time, and that is God. And I remember that God can do through me anything, but I have to let it. I have to believe it's possible to be free. I have to see the other as my brother. I have to be willing to find our unity, not our separation. I have to be willing to cross the bridge from where I feel safe to where I don't feel safe. I am in this class with 150 other Science of Mind ministers called Me and White Supremacy, and it is kicking my butt and all of our butts, I can tell you. And, you know, we're looking for a word that means anti-racist without being anti-anything. Because when we're against something, we empower that something. We focus everything on that something. And if we're against the neighbor who just we don't like, then where's our energy all day long? It's on that neighbor we don't like, and they can do no right in our mind. And the story gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's how we get divided. So in our little Temenos organization, my new virtual assistant and I were talking about, is there a word that means anti-racist? What is the reality when we're not racist? What word would you use? And she came up with it. She's a wordsmith. She came up with a word that is so fantastic, I think, but I would love your opinion. Her word was embracism. Embrace, E-M-B, racism. Embracism. Ooh. So, you know, just if you can embrace something, you're healing the separation. If you can embrace something, you are learning and growing and stretching and challenging yourself. So our work is to remember that we are in this infinite universe called God, by whatever word you use. And it is perfect, whole, and complete. And it reveals itself according to our ability to be it, to duplicate its nature in our affairs. Because we have all that same creative power. That's what the creative process is. We can do anything in our lives, anything, if we believe it. And so we got to see the world that works for everyone. We've got to see a reality where everyone is free. We've got to challenge ourselves to see where don't we believe in that. And we have to take ourselves into that challenge and do something with it to set ourselves free from our disbelief. And just imagine if that's what we all did every day. Instead of shaming and blaming, we took ourselves by the hand and crossed that bridge from where we feel safe to where we don't. And we know that on the other side, God is all there is waiting for us to stand up for what's true. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it isn't going to hurt. But if you do the right thing, if it's good trouble, it will pay off. And the thing is, most of us give lip service to all this stuff and we think we believe it and we aren't on the line. And our job is to get on the line, get on that front line in whatever way to heal the disconnect in ourselves. So vision with me, please, this world where we are all free. And imagine that we have all the courage and all the support and all the grace there is to see ourselves as we are and to embrace ourselves as we are and know what needs to go. What kind of privilege do I need to face and eliminate from my life? My son and I spent last night at 11 o'clock taking the white privilege test, and we all scored 100% perfectly white privileged. Just every one of us. And there 20 points and we all passed the ball. Because it's in our system. It's not a choice. We would never choose to be racist. But there it is. It's in our system. We've been raised up. We don't even see it. So we have to face that. And so that's part of ours to do, is to see, embrace it, and erase it. Let that racism go. Let that judgment go. Let that fear go. And instead embrace the possibility of freedom and get ourselves free from the disbelief that we are one with the infinite presence, that there's only one thing happening, and that's right here, right now, perfect, whole, and complete, even though it looks like hell. But there is something in it that we have to go through, get, understand, or say no to in a new way for us to set ourselves free. So heaven on earth is in our hands. It is really true. And so I'm challenging myself in a way I've never before. I can't say I have the courage of the suffragettes and the abolitionists yet, but I'm really getting there. Because I believe that we all deserve to be free. And I know that it's only going to happen when we do that ourselves. So I thank you for allowing me to come and share a little bit of who I am today and what I believe. I hope it serves you. I hope it lights up for you a possibility of the greatness of this magnificent life that we have. Because we all have it. It's right here. So I thank you. I thank you.